Beneath the shimmering robes and dazzling domes of Islamic grandeur lies a darkness that chills the soul. This is the story of the most horrifying acts committed by the Islamic caliphates, a tale woven in blood, betrayal, and the echoes of silent screams. Brace yourself, because this journey through history will leave you questioning the depths of human cruelty. We begin our tale where silk draped over walls, iron shackles hung in silence. Within the opulent palaces of Baghdad and Damascus, the greatest treasures were not gold or jewels, but men and women stripped of their freedom, their dignity, their very humanity. The captives of war, taken during the early Islamic conquests, became the cornerstone of a sinister institution. They were herded into markets like cattle, bought and sold, their lives measured not in years, but in the value they held for their new owners. Among them were the non-Muslim dhimmis, taken as slaves after battles, despite paying tribute. Their faith might have offered some protection, but within the twisted logic of conquest, it also became a mark for subjugation. Enslavement wasn't new. Pre-Islamic Arabia had known slavery, but the caliphates institutionalized it. And this wasn't just about labor, it was about control. Absolute, unyielding control. Concubinage, having a mistress, was normalized. The Prophet Muhammad himself had many. In fact, he married a 9-year-old girl named Aisha, so if the Prophet could do it, so could his followers. This practice was seen as a great sin in the eyes of God, but to make up for it, these men would offer prayers and alms. But this didn't erase the pain inflicted on those silenced voices. Behind closed doors, women bore children for their masters, ensuring lineage and perpetuating servitude. For the sons born into this world, freedom was a distant whisper. They knew only the confines of their master's household, their lives dictated by invisible chains passed down through generations. But it gets worse. Girls were often sold at extremely young ages, prized for their beauty and silence. They were considered valuable commodities, traded for their worth in gold or silver. The youngest among them were deemed the purest and most obedient. Imagine being so young that your life is already planned out for you without your say-so. You are bought and sold, not as a person, but as an object. Your body becomes a commodity, your spirit a bargaining chip. The boys weren't spared either, were castrated to serve the pleasures of the royal court. They were turned into objects of desire, their bodies manipulated and altered to fit the whims of their owners. These boys grew up in environments where they were constantly exposed to sexual urges and temptations, yet they themselves were denied the right to experience their own sexuality. Can you imagine the psychological toll of such an existence? In these dark corners of history, innocence was sacrificed at the altar of indulgence. Young minds were robbed of their natural curiosity, their laughter echoing only in the chambers of memory. If you think that's the worst of it, you'd be wrong. Within the silent halls of the caliph's palace, whispers circulated of unimaginable horrors. Eunuchs held enormous power, pulling strings from the shadows, shaping destinies while remaining untouched by the very world they influenced. They resided in a liminal space, observing, advising, yet forever barred from belonging. Living amidst the opulence, they wielded influence as a sharp, double-edged sword, capable of both bestowing favor and inflicting harm. These men, once boys stolen from their families, were transformed into keen observers of human nature. Their position granted them a unique vantage point into the heart of power, privy to secrets and strategies that could make or break empires. Yet despite their proximity to the throne, they were never truly accepted. They existed in a perpetual state of usefulness, their value measured by their ability to serve. But they were also viewed with suspicion, their pasts haunting their present, always threatening to disrupt the fragile order. One wrong move and their usefulness could turn into expendability. The caliphs employed some truly despicable tactics to assert dominance. They branded slaves with hot iron, leaving indelible marks of ownership on their bodies. Just think about the searing pain, the stench of burning flesh, the metallic temps of blood mingling with sweat. Each burn was a reminder of one's subjugated status, a silent scream echoing the anguish of countless generations. Starvation, beatings, and public humiliation were used to keep these individuals in line, to crush any flicker of rebellion. It was a constant game of intimidation and terror, ensuring that the enslaved never forgot their place. Picture this: the searing pain of hunger, the jarring impact of each blow, the suffocating grip of fear as their dignity was stripped away in the public square. To enforce obedience, the caliphs even went as far as placing what they called obedience collars on the necks of their captives. These were not metaphorical chains. They were solid iron rings locked around their necks for months at a time, leaving deep gashes and scars. Now, try to imagine the physical toll. The searing pain of chafing skin. Struggle to breathe with a heavy collar pressing against your windpipe. The desperation to break free from the confines of metal. However, amidst this dark narrative, a flicker of defiance ignited in the 9th century. East African slaves revolted against their oppressors in southern Iraq. They rose up, led by a charismatic leader named Abu Muslim, and for 15 years they waged a relentless war against the Caliphate. Their movement, known as the Carmatian Revolution, shook the very foundations of the Abbasid Caliphate. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of those yearning for freedom. These brave souls dared to dream of a world beyond slavery. Led by visionary leaders, they forged alliances, united disparate communities, and launched daring attacks against their enslavers. Their struggle wasn't just about personal liberation, it was a fight for the dignity of an entire people. Year after year, they held their ground, proving that even in the darkest times, hope could endure. But their journey towards freedom was paved with immense sacrifice. The Caliphate responded with brutal force, executing rebels, subjecting them to excruciating tortures, and employing starvation as a weapon of oppression. Entire cities were leveled, their ruins serving as grim reminders of the cost of rebellion. Amidst this darkness, there was also a disturbing spectacle. Enormous, highly organized bazaars, where men, women, and even children were openly auctioned off like possessions. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare, a marketplace where human lives were reduced to mere commodities. Girls were sold by their age and beauty, while boys were valued for their strength or special talents. It was a grotesque display where innocence was bartered and futures were gambled away. The wealthy elite, including scholars, caliphs, and generals, frequented these bazaars, eager to acquire new possessions. It was a disturbing ritual where human lives were reduced to mere playthings. Many of these enslaved individuals were raised from childhood in captivity, living out their entire lives in bondage. They never experienced the warmth of a real home, the love of a family, or the joy of true freedom. They grew up in a world where they were constantly reminded of their subordinate status. Their lives became a monotonous routine of menial tasks and stifled emotions. It was a tragic existence, devoid of individuality and self-determination. But how did this system continue for so long? Well, the answer lies in the religious justification that shrouded it all. The concept of slavery was interwoven into the fabric of Islamic teachings, making it seem divinely ordained. This religious backing provided a sense of legitimacy that allowed the system to thrive for centuries. Moreover, education was carefully limited, ensuring that the enslaved remained ignorant and unable to question their place in society. By controlling their access to knowledge, their oppressors kept them trapped in a cycle of obedience. It's important to note that not all captives of the caliphates suffered the same fate. Some Ghilman, a term used for young male captives, were given special privileges and training. Under the Abbasids, certain Ghilman were appointed to influential positions, even becoming generals or governors. They excelled in administrative roles and military campaigns, showcasing intelligence and strategic prowess. However, their advancement came with a caveat. They were always disposable assets, eliminated at the slightest sign of disloyalty or insubordination. For the caliphs, their usefulness was directly tied to their obedience. Once that was compromised, they were discarded without remorse. And let's not forget the overarching theme of power. Despite granting these individuals positions of authority, the caliphs never truly trusted them. There was always a lurking suspicion about their origins, a constant fear that these men might harbor resentment or harbor ambitions that could threaten the established order. It was a precarious existence, walking the tightrope between favor and disfavor. The smallest misstep could send them plummeting into the abyss of punishment, a stark reminder that no matter how high you climb, if your roots are in servitude, your branches cannot reach freedom. Countless millions of men, women, and children vanished from the pages of history, their stories lost to the sands of time. The caliphates thrived on this erasure, ensuring that the narratives of the oppressed were silenced forever. It's a chilling thought, the idea that so many human beings could be subjugated and their voices extinguished. But it's a reality we must confront to truly understand the depths of human cruelty. So there you have it, a glimpse into the darkest recesses of the Islamic caliphates. It's a history that should chill us to the bone, reminding us of the urgency to fight against injustice and stand up for the rights of all people.